everything is on the table. It's Relationship Theory with Tina Laws.
Welcome back to Relationship Theory, where we talk about all things relationships, and no topic is off the table. Before we went on break, we was talking to Dr. Woolridge, and we was talking about when to leave a relationship. And we pointed on a few things, and one of the things I would like to elaborate a little bit more about is you mentioned that feeling, that inner feeling. You knew you should have walked away maybe 2 years prior, but you stayed there. What was that inner feeling, and how did you get to that feeling? What was taking place in the relationship that caused you to have this feeling?
It started from the moment I met the person. Like literally, the moment I met the individual, I felt uneasy. And my 20-something-year-old self versus myself now I would know, okay, well, you know what? I don't know what it is, and I don't need to know what it is. I need to just walk away. But my 20-year-old self ignored it.
Yes.
And so I embarked on the relationship even knowing I had that feeling from the outset. Over time, my concerns or what I was feeling, the reasons for it manifested. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
So, the individual wasn't as single as they would have liked for me to believe. And then also, and honestly, I would have had no reason to think that they weren't, because Bermuda's small.
Yes.
And so sometimes we don't know people and we don't necessarily notice people. But then there are other times where we get to know somebody and then all of a sudden you feel like you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, you've probably seen them before, but you just didn't know them, so you weren't taking notice of them. So the person was popping up all over the place. And so I had no reason to believe that they were anything but single. At the same time, he was abusive. Not in our relationship. Well, emotionally abusive in our relationship because he was lying to me. But he was physically abusive in his other relationship. And when I found that out, it was like I was beginning to check boxes. Like, these are things that I don't subscribe to. And so by the end of the 2 years, like I said, I was in a situation of being in a place of transition in my life in general. I was graduating from school. I was beginning to decide, okay, am I going to go back home and work? Am I going to go into graduate school? Things like that. And I had to take inventory across the board for my life. And so I had decided that, you know what, this isn't something that I'm willing to continue. And so I ended it.
And what were some of the things that some of the behaviors he portrayed that now that you look back, because at that time you said you didn't even know, you didn't have a clue what he was doing or as to. So what were some of the things now when you look back, for all of us viewers watching, right? What are some of the things that you would say that you now recognize that you didn't recognize before? That because you said it was something about him in the beginning that was you didn't vibe with him from the beginning, but
Right.
you still.
But for me, that's the biggest thing is that, like I said, we have to learn to trust ourselves. And the fact that literally from the first 5 minutes, I got a sense that this wasn't a good thing, I should have run. We were joking during the break, and I said I should have taken off and run like Cinderella and left my shoes. I don't want him to come looking for me. But I really should have listened to that.
Yeah.
And so it's important to listen to yourself. Even if we don't know why, we know what we feel.
Yeah.
And we feel what we feel for a reason. Sometimes we might get the answer why, sometimes we might not.
Yeah.
Sometimes we may not want to know why, to be perfectly honest,
And that happens
But
too.
listen to that gut feeling and move on.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. We all have them.
Yeah.
We all have them.
Yeah.
And over time, we get too much in our head. We get too much in our head and we learn to ignore our instincts. But our instincts are there to protect us.
What was it that made you say, I'm ready, I'm walking away this time. I'm not even going to question it. I'm not going to backtrack. Nothing. I'm walking away.
Okay, so there's really two questions. The first question you asked, what are the things I saw in him? Okay, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they don't take you around their family and friends, or just certain friends,
Yes.
red flag. Yeah, this like peace. Sorry, say it like that, but it is what it is. Especially if you've been in a relationship for a while and you've never met this person's family, that's a sign. That's a huge red flag. And other clues like that. Not going on to family and friends. Nowadays with cell phones, they're only giving you their mobile phone number, but they don't want you stopping by the house, or they don't want you, different clues like that. they're not interested in meeting your family.
Yes.
You know, it's for a reason, because they don't know who's in your family, and they don't know who knows them, or they may know who's in the family and they know who knows them.
Right. Exactly.
And so they don't want to come around. You know, things like that. Like, in relationships, we have to be aware.
Yeah.
You know, so many times you're like, oh, I'm following my heart, and you're skipping through the field full of daisies, and meanwhile your head's saying, run, run. Listen to your head.
Yeah.
You know, we get so caught up in the concept of romance that we lose our common sense. And you shouldn't lose your common sense just because you're in a relationship. You know what I mean? That's the time you need it the most, so that you're not driving the other person crazy as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so now when you look back at it, when you look back at all of that at this age and stage in your life now, what would you say to a 25-year-old? What advice would you give her as it relates to run from the moment you feel in that 5-minute time that you noticed it wasn't it, but you still ran for it? What would you say to that 25-year-old?
I would say be true to yourself. Know who you are and be true to who you are. So that if the signs come, then you'll trust yourself enough to pay attention to them, and you won't second guess yourself. And really, to be honest with you, if we're talking to people about relationships at the age of 25, we've missed 25 years.
Yeah.
Because preparation for relationship starts from birth. It really, every relationship we have builds to what those who want to be married will have in the ultimate relationship, which is marriage.
Yeah.
You know, and every other relationship is training ground and preparation and all that. So if we're starting at age 25, we've missed a whole lot of time. Because having good relationships is about knowing yourself, being true to yourself, loving yourself, so that you can still do those other things for other people. You can get to know other people fully. You can be true to yourself, and you can show up as your authentic self in that relationship. You know, I always say to young people that the greatest lessons you will ever learn are outside the classroom. And so I had to figure out who Zena is aside from my family, outside of my friends. You know, who is this person that's looking back at you in the mirror? And so I had to figure that out for myself. And so it was all part of the process of getting to the point where it was like, I don't want this anymore because this doesn't match, or it doesn't mirror who I am and the person who I look at in the mirror.
What are the things in which you decided that you were no longer going to compromise in that relationship?
I had to be honest with myself. I had to be, and so the relationship is where it played out.
Yes.
But the work was done internally. You know, and so I had to be honest with myself. What are you doing? You know this isn't how you were raised. What are you doing? Because even one, like I said, okay, so I had the immediate warning with my internal response.
Yeah.
And but even when I started to learn the truth, I still stayed.
Yeah.
You know, because I wanted to be in a relationship. Well, I know now that that's not the be all that ends all. And if you have to compromise yourself, like I had said earlier, in order to be in a relationship, you're really not in a relationship. You're just lying to yourself. You know, and so some people say half a loaf is better than none. No, I want all my bread, thank you.
Exactly, and a lot of times we don't get our whole loaf either. We got a quarter, we got a corner, we got an and, we got one of those dry ends, you know. But we still put up with it for the sake of being at least for a part of a loaf, right?
Right. No.
And so and so a lot of women we tend to go through that quite often.
We sell ourselves short.
And one of the things I find more and more is that no matter what age, there are women in the 20s, women in the 30s, women in the 40s, women in the 50s, women in the 60s and 70s still compromising our values and the things in which we want. And one of the reasons I find we do it is because we don't want to be alone. And I know men know the same thing. And so that's what we're going to leave you with. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Relationship Theory. We'll be right back after these messages.